Hey everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It's 4:15 on Thursday afternoon, June 5th, 2014. We're going to take a look at the S&P after I remind you that the website and the video are for educational purposes only. Nothing stated at the side or in the video is intended to be used as investment advice. I control lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research and make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I'm not a licensed financial professional. I'm just a guy who draws lines on charts. So let's take a gander. Yesterday, when we were looking at the overall chart, by the way, I've erased a few lines here and there just to kind of simplify things. And I may even do it as we go along. Like we don't need this anymore. You'll remember that we, after we came off this 1870 low right here, we were in this steep channel that ran up from 1870 to about 1910 in just, 4 days. And that's not a huge move, but it was pretty steep. Then we entered a channel that was going up but not at the same kind of pace. Here, I'll throw this line back on here. Remember, we were looking at this as our initial channel. So we come up off this low, boom, head up. Then, and by the way, that move right there, that long little green candle right there, took us over the neckline of our inverted head and shoulders pattern. Now, with that in mind, as soon as we did that, we sort of put things in a little bit lower gear and started to go still up, but also sideways. And yesterday I pointed out that really we had essentially 3 days of just going sideways from the 30th and the 2nd and 3rd of June. So my question was this: is that the channel that we're going to be going in from this point forward? And you remember I pointed this out right here would be likely resistance, or would we bump into our little parallel line down here? And remember, this was very speculative. This line got put on the chart before we had any of these touches on it, and it was there only because we had this upper line here. Let me just erase it. I'll redo the thing. Here was our top resistance line. I took it and said, let's make a parallel line, and then we'll stick this up and basically see if it sticks. Now, understand, when you do something like that, or when I do something like that, you have to say this is very, very, very speculative. This is, you really can't, you got to be real careful saying I'm going to put a trend line down here when you only have 1 point to define it. Because for obvious reasons, it takes 2 points to define a line. But just the same, we've seen over and over in the S&P and in other stocks and in other indexes where when you have a line established on one side of your trading, in this case the resistance side, often you end up with a parallel to that line for your support, or vice versa. Well, today it looks like we came down and tagged that line again and then really bounced strongly over it, finished up about 2/3% up after starting the day on weakness. Again, it's not a huge mover or anything like that, but we went from about 1923 at the low to about 1941 at the high. So that's a nice 19 point, or about a 1% turnaround. So with that in mind, I'm going to get rid of these lines again because we really don't need those. They've done their thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of these so that we now have something that stands out a bit more on the chart, because these now, this set of parallel lines, I believe, going forward, may hold, may continue to be something we need to see. So I'm going to make those red. Here we bounded up today, got up to about 1940, and then if you look on a 3-minute chart, we just kind of hit resistance and went back and forth a couple times. Interesting to note, a lot of times when you are in a channel, and we know this when we've been in wedges, but oftentimes when you're in a channel, the midway point in that channel is an area where you may find little patches of support or resistance. So if we put this right here, you can see, for example, we have support, support, support. Then we kind of got underneath it. So maybe now we're going to have some resistance, or maybe we bust up through that. But all I'm saying is that's just not really anything that I think one could trade on, but certainly something just to throw up there because it is a recurring curiosity. So, another nice day today. Just want to remind you that because of the shape of this pattern, we have our target now that is right at about 1990. We have this blue trend line right here as well. And if we go back to it, we say actually we have to probably go back to a 3-day chart. Yep. This line actually goes way back to the tops in 2010 and 2011, and we haven't tagged it since. It'll be interesting to see if hitting this line creates resistance, or if these two events are just too far back in time for that to make that big a difference. Now this lower blue line I think is even more important because we had a touch on it back in the latter part of 2012. So this line is important. This one I'm not so terribly sure of. Finally, looking back on a daily chart, we have another line of resistance right here. But guys, let's be honest, this thing is rising at a pretty good clip. And if we were to tag this line, then I don't think it could possibly happen unless the S&P has made up its mind that it wants to get over, that it wants to get close to 2100, and I'm not ruling that out. That there's nothing yet in this chart that says top. We're just going up right now in a very fairly controlled and in a channel that has some fairly well defined features. Here you can see here's a support line right here. Let's extend that line, by the way, because this is one that that we may want to be looking at some point in the weeks and months ahead. Because eventually we've got to test support, and at this point, this looks to be like the most likely support to get tested, at least looking forward, 2 or 3 months or 6 to 8 weeks down the road. So there you have it. Looks like we're in this red channel here, and this channel is still going up at a pretty good clip. If it continues to do its thing, then we could make that 1990 actually it's within that channel in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the end of 6 days. If we were to have that kind of strength in the market, we could make that target That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 6 days. 1990 is inside this channel. So great day. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch this. This is day 8 over our neckline. Another strong day. Remember, 1990 is a minimum target from our pattern. So I'm looking for that. But once you get there, that doesn't mean that's all she's got. Thanks again for watching. Take care.